Okay.
Awesome
Well, while
sauce.
let's see. Oh, you're back. Okay.
I am, but also please go ahead. Add it in.
Oh no, I was just about to talk about all the songs that I've learned that I've had that has come in this chat. I will definitely be listening to them. I might have a couple of more songs to add to it. I promise I'll keep it PG-13.
Yes.
I'll try to promise. But I got you. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Latifa, for coming through for us when you're not feeling the best. But we have recorded, so you are ready to get started whenever you can. And we do have a break coming up um, at at the top of the hour. So at 2 o'clock, there is a 10-minute break coming up, you guys.
Awesome sauce. All right, let's dive in. I'm hoping that we'll be done by that point. Um, let's do this. So, monitoring. Oh, 1 second, folks. My computer sometimes does this thing where it's going to just freeze for at least the next 60 seconds. So, I'm going to have to probably step out and then step back in, which gives Dan a second to add on to. Oh no, actually, Dan already joined in. Sorry, guys. 1 second.
Hey, Dan, do you mind putting your email address in the chat? I will try to go ahead and get you direct access to the team, so you won't have to constantly keep um, rejoining by phone.
That'll give us a second to. I thought that I.
It's working. It's working now, but then of course the chat function won't work. So at least I can follow along. I don't want to really restart it again.
Yeah.
The risk of losing all of you.
No, we are too familiar with Teams issues over here, so you are totes fine. And then anything that you want to pop in and say, since you can't use chat, just like literally cut me off, and we will get answers to questions and comments to whatever. Okay, folks. So today we're going to talk about why we monitor, what we monitor from our programs, how we monitor, and then when we do this monitoring process. We actually have Neelam Gupta, our Director of Compliance, on the call. This is going to be a very general overview of the different components. There are a few different ways that we monitor, so we'll get into that. But for a deeper dive, that will probably come at a later date, and then really just diving into the process once you are set up to be monitored in whatever form. So why do we monitor compliance? To measure impact, the very obvious things: quality improvement, financial oversight, accountability for our programs, how you're working with our members, with your members, decision-making support, best practices, promotion. And if you'll just give me 1 second, this is quite unfortunate. My computer is really doing a freezing situation right now, which, always right on time for foolishness. Sorry, guys. It might be the case that I actually will have to come out of Teams and then come back again. But I'm going to try to do a bit of troubleshooting on the back end. If anyone has questions already, thoughts already, obviously this could be the time. So sorry, guys. Okay, we're just going to have to make it work. Gonna have to make it work. Unfortunate. Okay. Well, Let's do this. So again, why do we do this? Ensuring compliance. So that's, of course, to make sure programs are kind of adhering to the different regulations and policies, grant requirements. I don't know new programs. If you're familiar with AmeriCorps regulations, they are extensive. And so these trainings, especially the ones coming up, are going to be vital, key to your success to avoid findings that can lead to some serious costs at times. Measuring impact, that's where we kind of evaluate the effectiveness of a program. Are you achieving your goals, your performance measures? Are you making this positive impact on your community that you said that you were going to? So that's what we're looking at as well. Also looking at that improved quality. So, identifying the areas for this probably specific improvement. We then could provide technical assistance to kind of help enhance program quality and outcomes. And then one big one is financial oversight. The very obvious thing, ensuring proper use of funds, preventing misuse or fraud. Jim kind of talked about some of the ways that we identify improper use of funds earlier. Accountability. So holding programs accountable for their performance. That is similar to improving quality, but the distinction is this is where the program kind of ensures that they're meeting their stated objectives versus where you're looking at the effectiveness of a program where you're achieving goals and the direct impact on the communities that you're serving. And then our last two, supporting that decision making. So providing data, insights that kind of inform program management and the policy decisions associated with that. And then also promotion of best practices, always a good one, where we, identify and share successful strategies with you. You share them with us, and these practices among all of the programs to improve overall performance for Team Tennessee. That is the why. So what do we monitor? Program activities, we kind of talked about this, performance metrics, financial management, compliance, member development, reporting and documentation, operational efficiency, and then also risk management. So to kind of break that down a bit more, program activities, fairly obvious, but that is, those are the specific activities that you've identified. For our planning grantees, we'll kind of talk about that in a second. But those specific services activities being carried out with your members, they're going out into the community to do whatever service. And then for our planning grantees, your planning activities, you have decided to hire on someone. You are working to do research to identify the greater needs within the community and how you can address that. This is the time for that planning. Performance metrics. So that's the goals and outcomes, again, set by the program, including things like the folks who have members, including service hours and participant achievements. Performance metrics for planning grantees, as we saw in the application process. I know several folks reached out to me, apologies. Several folks reached out to me to be like, how are we doing this? Performance metrics wise. And we encouraged planning grantees to, or our guidance was that you would basically input into eGrants when you did your application exactly what performance metrics could potentially look like if you were doing that traditional grant, implementation grant where you have AmeriCorps members. However, something that I also reference to folks is you definitely should have separate performance metrics to identify your goals and outcomes that are very specific to this planning process. Financial management, budget adherence, expense tracking, proper use of funds, compliance, adherence to the federal regulations, AmeriCorps policies, and grant requirements. Definitely review your contract, touch base with us when you have a question. Even we, and I don't know why I said even we definitely also, there's just a lot of information, have to go into Basecamp, go to our colleagues who have been in this space for a longer period of time, go to our portfolio director at AmeriCorps to ask questions because you want to ensure that you are being compliant. All right, member development for our implementation grantees. That's the training, support, the progress of your AmeriCorps members. That's what we're looking at. And then community impact, we do not grade on that necessarily, but we are, every quarter, apologies, that's totally incorrect, not every quarter. We do 2 to 3 progress reports. And the first progress report happens about a year or so into, about 10 months into the grant. And we ask a couple of different questions and you share like what the impact you've had on the community. And then we'll, potentially look at your performance measures, do correlations potentially to see if the effects on the program and on the community target populations have been met. Looking at that reporting and documentation, we're looking for accuracy and completeness of the required reports and records. Folks, you were awarded the grant, so you definitely submitted a pretty solid application. And so that definitely included looking at accuracy and completeness for, required components within that. So we know that that is something you already have locked in. Keep that up. Participant feedback, so looking at satisfaction and feedback from program beneficiaries and members. We're definitely doing this in a different way. And we'll get into this in a second. But there are 4 different ways that we monitor. And actually, I just remembered I did not include one of them. But then, effectiveness of program management, administrative processes, and definitely don't want to forget identification and mitigation of any potential risks and issues. That's what we're here for, risk management to support you. But this is where we hope to identify anything in these different avenues of monitoring. So that way we can help avoid potential risks and always compliance issues that might lead to a finding with a financial cost associated with it. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? So actually, let's do a quick baby quiz, because why not? Maybe someone share one of the things, let me go away from that. One of the reasons why we monitor, you can throw it in the chat. You could come off of mute, but just looking for someone to say, and it could be multiple people, why do we monitor? Oh my. I feel like everyone is like trying to talk while they're muted. That's what we're going to go for. Excellent. To help avoid, where did that go in the chat?
Ashley
Thank
said to
you.
help avoid non-compliance and cost-associated risks.
Awesome. Exactly. Thank you, Ashley. And then if someone could throw into the chat or come off of mute for what we monitor, just reference one of the things that we're monitoring. I wish I had the Jeopardy song, but I don't. Come on, guys. Just one person. Tell us what we monitor. Here, this is going to be key to success. There's a lot of monitoring happening ever so often.
NSCHC's, adherence to your own policies, things like that.
Exactly. Thank you, Connor. A veteran chopped in. Maybe let's get a new person to pop in on one of the things that we monitor. And this is the thing that we just kind of went over. I'll say, obviously, like finance, program activities. Okay. Dan, Do you have one that you could throw into the chat?
Yeah, the chat's not working, but the ones I wrote down, so and it goes to finances. It just is the basic budget numbers, and it goes to ensuring that from a dollar perspective, we're delivering results when it comes to dollars allocated.
Exactly. Excellent. Thanks, Dan. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. My phone is definitely on silent, but somehow it's not to do that. Oh, excellent. Okay. So how do we monitor? These are the different ways. Monitoring reports, that is led initially by Neelam. We have desk reviews, site visits, and what I did not include are the two more common ones, which are the progress reports and then definitely FSRs. FSRs, those are quarterly. Apologies. So that's where we're looking at your numbers. We're like, have you met your match? Are you close to meeting your match? Are you very far from meeting your match? And we're like a year into the grant program, into your grant. You know, are you, there's several things within that FSR. And then progress report, again, that is submitted about 10 months into the grant, but we'll come back to that. So for a monitoring report, these are the steps. So Neelam Gupta, our fabulous compliance director, she contacts you, the program staff, and then the monitoring process is initiated. Then step 2, the program staff then goes back and forth with Neelam, providing these different materials that she's requesting, answering questions that she has. Let's say Neelam's identified that for an implementation grantee, those who have members, it could be that she's identified the MSA doesn't have all of the correct information in it. And so, she might identify that 3 out of 10 members didn't have the correct information. And so then she might ask you questions about that. Then after that back and forth has happened, I think that timeline can take a moment. I think it can go up to like a couple of months. Is that right, Neelam? Like that back and forth process?
Okay, so for me to issue the report is within it's within 30 business days that after I receive the information from them to complete my monitoring review. And then they have 15 business days to respond to those findings or observation if I have any. And so we do give them like holidays and weekends, of course, so it's just 15 business days. And after that, I think you guys, like program managers, they have the timeline within 5 business days that you will be requesting the response. If you have any questions about the corrective action they have submitted, and then I think you guys go back and forth. It may resolve in a month. It may resolve just the first time. So I think that's how it works. So, but sometimes it does take a couple of months to resolve the findings and observations. So.
Exactly. Thanks, Neelam. Like Neelam said, the monitoring report is not probably, I definitely did this in order of highest level timeline wise, and then highest level of capacity. That's input into this by both volunteer tenancy staff and also program staff on the AmeriCorps program end. So let's programs, especially newer programs, this happens. You might have a couple of National Service Criminal History Check findings. And so we might have to do some serious back and forth, which could take up to a couple of months. But like Neelam said, maybe there isn't a finding, and maybe there's like one finding that probably could take like a week or 2, and then we could close that out. There are also some times where I know right now we have a couple of monitoring reports open for a while because we were waiting on guidance from AmeriCorps for a specific thing related to debt resolution. And so this has been probably like 6-7 months. And so what we'll do, we submit this, not a final report, but we'll submit a report saying, hey, we don't need you to respond right now. we're waiting to hear back from AmeriCorps, blah, blah, blah. And when that happens, then we will do an official closeout of that monitoring report. So that's the monitoring report. Do you have any questions around that? I know for me, it's really kind of just getting into it. So maybe the questions kind of come when you're actually in the process. But we'll take a second just in case anyone does have a question.
I don't have, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I just want to take a second because I don't know how many new folks are on here. This is not a bad thing. Neelam and Latifa and the team are all here to support us. So I know it's hard when people are questioning, you know, how you're operating, but they're just here with their experience and knowledge to ensure compliance with the grant. And I think just hearing that kind of would hopefully make someone feel better when their time comes. That sounds so ominous, but
Not even. I appreciate you saying that, Ashley.
Yeah, we're not bad people. We're not looking for findings or observations. We're here to support you in any way we can. We are available whenever you need us. Just ask questions. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Because if you don't, we don't know what kind of issues you're having. So we're here to help you.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Neelam. I think that was very important to reference. Ah, excellent. We are frozen again. There we go. Oh, apologies. Desk reviews. So how those work, those are led by the AmeriCorps team. So as you all heard me reference, we are bringing on another AmeriCorps program manager. That person should be hired on in the next month or two, hopefully within the next month. But either myself or that AmeriCorps program manager will do the direct reach out. But again, we're always CC'd, so we're both in there. So we reach out to the programs. We do about 4 desk reviews each year. The way that we choose desk reviews, and I should have started with this, the way that we choose folks to be monitored, everyone is going to be monitored in some form or fashion with one of these 3 major forms of monitoring, at least every 2 years, every 2-3 years. And then if you are identified as a high-risk program, which can happen sometimes, especially for newer programs, again, it's a lot. It is a lot. Amazing things that you can do with these dollars to support your communities, but it is a lot. So I'm so sorry. That can be many times expected. So yeah, when it comes to desk reviews, we reach out to the program. It could be, again, the way you're identified is just, oh, this person hasn't been monitored for the last 2 or 3 years. We're going to choose them. Or again, it could be your high risk. We reach out, we ask for different documentation. Currently, we have been receiving this documentation via email. I believe what we're going to transition over to is OneDrive. I say I believe because we're definitely not going to do email anymore starting in the new program year. However, we might use a new platform that we're moving over to for reporting if it allows, which is AmeriCorps Learns. I know, Connor, I think you use AmeriCorps Learns, and I don't know if anyone else is familiar with AmeriCorps Learns, but neither here nor there. That's how we'll accept the documents, potentially that or OneDrive. Things that we're looking at, we request 2 member files. For planning grantees, this is something we'll actually need to do some brainstorming on staff and at Volunteer Tennessee to assess what that might look like. Maybe there aren't desk reviews for a planning grantee. I'm probably going to assume that won't be the case, as in not having desk reviews for planning grantees. But documentation for financial progress reports, description of compliance with AmeriCorps requirements. We asked a couple of questions there. And then actually now I'm thinking about it, I do this often, so forgive, but potentially also we might use SurveyMonkey. But those are the kind of documents that we're going to request from you. You have about 2 weeks to a month, depending. I know it's, I think we have at least one program on here, Ashley, University of the South, who's going through the desk review process right now. And I believe we gave a month, but that was because we're short-staffed. So it could be 2 to 4 weeks. Then you provide that information to us. And I should reference, we are extremely flexible as much as possible. We do have to effectively meet any type of federal timelines. But when it comes to things like this, if you need more time, we understand the nature of tight capacity and the nature of life. So, just always let us know. But once you provide those materials to us, there's not as much back and forth. You provide those materials to us, we review, and most likely we respond, and that's the end of that. And I will say most likely, I have been here for 2 years. That has been my experience. We haven't had like several back and forth. I've seen maybe up to 2 responses. So that's the difference, the very wide distinction when it comes to a desk review monitoring report. I've seen for monitoring report, doesn't happen all the time, but I've seen like up to like 10 responses, like back and forth between volunteer Tennessee staff and program staff. All right, that is a desk review. Do we have any questions around desk reviews, the materials we're requesting, the timeline, the why? Okay, awesome sauce. We shall move on. So my favorite, which is something that we did not get to do this year due to short staff, but something that we're going to pick up again is meeting you in person. So here, this is the least time consuming, as in providing documentation and going back and forth for feedback and sharing any type of corrective action plan. Here, we reach out to the program. We do site visits for up to 4 programs each year. We almost always include at least 2 new programs. We have several new programs this year, woot woot. So maybe we will try to do informal connects. That's definitely what we did last year with some of our newer programs. So what I'm about to share is the more formal process, and then I'll share like less formal process for the program site visit. So again, program manager and myself, we reach out to you. We notify that, hey, we want to come see you, want to hang out. Then we basically work with you to collaborate best time, best date, what you want to be a part of that schedule. Here on the page right now is just a example schedule. It doesn't have to be like this. You might say, hey, we want to take you to a whole bunch of different sites, and excuse the typos here, by the way. But it will definitely be a group effort to put together this schedule. We might present you with something, or not might, we'll definitely present you with something, and then you can just be like, hey, we don't want to do that. We want to do all this. My favorite part is talking with the members. That's a significant part of program site visits, visiting the sites, assessing for, how effective, members are at these sites, what it's looking like, touching base with members on the challenges that they're facing, their successes, meeting program staff. Many times we work with 1 to 2 main points of contact, but this is the time for us to meet your entire team. If the ED is not the person that we're regularly connecting with, then maybe we're meeting your executive director, or whoever you want to include in that. I had a fabulous site visit with University of the South, Ashley on this call, and they introduced us to their entire team within their department. That was wonderful. We went to lunch, got to chat, and the one component that is the distinction between a formal site visit and an informal site visit is the member file review. So for that, again, much less on the formal end than the monitoring report and the desk review. Here, we're probably looking at 122 member files, but definitely if it's me, most likely 1, because I want to spend a lot of my time just chatting, getting to know you, hearing what you need from us, hearing from the members, taking photo ops and all that goodness. Then at the very end, we do a site visit report. We send that over to you, and that's the end of that. So there's no back and forth in that way. I like to call this the fun one. All right, folks, you all are amazing. Your programs are amazing. You're doing such great work in the community. It is imperative to do your best to be compliant, like Neelam referenced. Ask the questions. I know that you, and it's funny, I'm sure for some, there's like, I ask you questions and it takes a while to get back. We appreciate your flexibility and patience right now, as we are obviously short-staffed. But again, ask the questions. We want to make sure that you are compliant so that way you can serve your communities in the best way possible. All right, let us time for questions, time for comments, and that is the end though of this monitoring presentation.
I think one thing that I want to say that we also have board member site visits that they also do. And of course, they'll be reaching out to you to schedule that. And it's not very extensive. It's very kind of formal, just talking to you, getting to know the program. If there are members available, talking to them, just kind of not going into, the member files or anything like that. We also have mid-year reviews where the programs were new. We don't want to delay the feedback until the end of the program. We want to come out mid-year, kind of see how things are going, and then give you feedback. If there are things that you can improve or, maybe need to change, we can just give you our feedback, and so that, they're not disallowance or question cost kind of at the end of the program. We'd rather want to give you feedback kind of the midway where you have started the program, you have done some work, but still not done completely with that. So I just wanted to throw that out. We're here for questions.
Thanks, Neelam. Like Neelam said, time for questions. Ashley, so you came off mute.
We just had a visit from the commission, and so that's not something we will get feedback from. That's something they'll just take and hide under their hat, and we'll never know how they feel about it.
That's a good question.
Just checking.
Yeah, so they do submit a report, but to my knowledge, I don't think we've ever shared that with programs. Not that we can't. Neelam, I don't know. Do you know the answer to that?
We do collect reports from them, but we have not shared. I don't remember sharing any information with the programs because it's just so informal. They don't review, like I said, member files or any expenses or anything, just, how, but I think it'll be great though. It'll be great to share that information with programs, what our board members think of the programs. So thank you, Ashley. I think we will definitely talk about that internally, and we'll see if we can share that information with you guys.
Thank you.
Agreed. Excellent. Any other questions, thoughts, guys, new folks? Hopefully this isn't overwhelming.
And I don't know if I missed this, but
Yeah.
like I know, I think it was implied that there's not necessarily a standard for when their monitoring happens, but I'm sure there is some guaranteed monitoring or some sort of, expectation of monitoring within a certain timeline. Is there any transparency you can give for that?
So, I don't know if you know that part or not, but we do prepare monitoring plan every year. What we do, not me, but our program managers and Jim, they assess the risks for every single program that we fund. And of course, they have a template. They have several risk categories that they look at. And based on that, they will assess the risk starting from low to high, so low, medium, high. And based on that, they will say, okay, seems like these programs are really high and maybe staff turnover, maybe they're not submitting the information that they need to, or whatever the template says. And then they will say, okay, these are the ones. Of course, I I cannot, and the list comes to me to monitor actually because the monitoring that I do is very extensive compared to our desk reviews or site visits. So the list comes to me to do the monitoring. So so it's just depending on the risk of the program, but I can tell you that every single program will get monitored at least once in 3-year grant cycle. Like Latifa mentioned, we try to do every single program, like some way monitor them, give them feedback via desk reviews, via site visits, whatever. But for me, like my extensive monitoring, it will happen once in every 3 years. We do not have any set timelines, and there is no federal requirement or state policy that says you have to do it every year or anything like that. But I also give programs at least 30 days advance notice. There will not be any surprised or unannounced visits. There will be notification, and it will be worked out day and time. So it's not that, you know, I will not try to accommodate, or same thing with Latifa, that she will not try to accommodate. It will be just that the date and time that works with programs and, of course, us. So there will not be any unannounced. I think that's all I can tell you, but we do not have any set days or times to do the monitoring. And that monitoring plan actually needs to, so that monitoring plan actually gets prepared in September every year, and it gets submitted to our central procurement office, which is a part of our Department of General Services, every year, October 1st.
If a program would like review of their materials or anything, because they feel that they've done their due diligence, but they want just your eyes on it, can an unofficial review be requested by the program, or is that only internally within Volunteer Tennessee?
It's only internally, you know, within our section, Volunteer Tennessee. But if there are something that is just a member service agreement, quickly, we cannot look at every single program's member service agreement. But if any programs say, hey, you know, just quickly, can you scan that? Of course, we'll do that for you. But we have never done that when the program has requested us to go ahead and monitor them, because, you know, they haven't done that. But we just do that internally, and we'll try to monitor every single program, like I said, once in 3 years. But if there are some documents that, like I said, member timesheets, the template that you want us to look at, or any policy that you want us to look at, we'll be glad to do that. But we cannot look at, you know, every single program, every single document. We just don't have the capacity to do it.
That's a good question.
Awesome.
That's a
Thank
great
you.
question, though.
And Candace put in the chat a question I had earlier that she thought Latifa could answer.
Well, I can.
Or Neelam.
Latifa, do you want to? Yeah. But I think this is a question that I'm sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and answer that, because I did check on it. I did call AmeriCorps about this after you asked this question, and they said that they have a AmeriCorps hotline, and they gave me the number, which I'll be able to put it here in a moment, that they can call that number if they have any issues in filling out application, or they have any accessibility issues. They will walk them through. They will walk that potential member, you know, how to do it, what issues they're having, and then go from there. Because earlier when I answered, if I did answer, I was thinking that member that you're referring to is has some kind of disability. Then I thought it's a reasonable accommodation for programs to help him in that, but seems like it's a general question. And if that's what it is, then I think it's just AmeriCorps Hotline. I can probably put here the link as well, where you can email them actually. And oh, okay, yeah. I think that's what it is. That's the answer.
Awesome. Thanks, Candace. Okay, guys. So, quick commercial break before we end, or ending memory, but we have a coffee and chats potentially. I actually haven't decided if we're going to do it since you all are having to spend so much time in these very important trainings this month. But usually there are the coffee and chats for our new programs. There are a couple of important things that we do need to discuss. One, which I'll probably send out a notification soon or include in the upcoming newsletter. We to I hope to facilitate better timeliness, or to increase timeliness when it comes to touching base on TA, moving over to SurveyMonkey for requests, concerns. Instead of doing email, email has become quite the bottleneck, especially with our current capacity. So we're transitioning over to that, doing a little bit of a pilot, see how that runs out. But we'll send that over to you. Thanks, guys, for being here. The summer playlist will be shared in the upcoming newsletter. If you have reached out to me and you're waiting, I would definitely say, hey, ping me again. I would appreciate that. I would definitely appreciate that. But I will definitely get back to you as soon as possible. I am out of the office for the rest of the day to attempt to recover. But everyone, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I know that you have a bit more to today's training. You'll be meeting with our fabulous Hope, who will go over some marketing items, branding. But
Yes,
Candace, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Latifa. And we do hope that you feel better. Don't go overboard on the ginger tea. I know it's unfortunate, but sometimes being sick, the best part about it is drinking all the tea. And for me specifically, it's hot toddies. You guys don't judge me, but they do work. So we are going to take just another small break before we do our last session of the day. Hope Alexander is our communications manager, and she will be coming on to talk about marketing guidelines, branding guidelines that are specific to AmeriCorps. I know you guys may have your where your actual program site is. It's probably going to be a little different from AmeriCorps. So she'll be on to run through her presentation, and then we will be ending for the day. So my clock is giving me 1:55 Central Time. So we will take a 10-minute break and resume back here at 2:05. So unless you guys have any other additional questions for Latifa, we're going to let her go back and recover and get some rest. And I will see you guys at 2:05.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Latifa.